Hi, everybody. So in this video, we are going to cover our third lesson here in week 7. This one is all about thesis statements. Super, super crucial, important element of any essay. So let's get down to it and figure out what a thesis statement is, what it's not, what makes a thesis statement too weak, what makes it strong, how to go about creating one, right? We're going to cover a lot of ground in this lesson. All right, so the essay's focus, that is our thesis statement. Just like our topic sentence declared the focus of our standalone paragraphs, our thesis statement declares the focus of our essay, right? All right, so it sounds important, right? But what is it? What is a thesis statement? All right. It is your essay's focus. It should be stated in the last sentence of your introductory paragraph, which makes sense, right? Because we've learned that the beginning of your introductory paragraph should be kind of broad and grab the reader's attention. The middle of your introductory paragraph should start to get a little more narrow, right? As you lead the reader into your focus topic. And then, remember the pyramid, the upside down triangle? The introductory paragraph ends with your specific focus. So if your thesis statement is the sentence that tells the reader your specific focus, then that is the sentence that should come at the end of your introductory paragraph. So that is where your thesis statement is located. Last sentence of the introductory paragraph. And I'm not going to say that you won't find intros that have a thesis statement at the very beginning. Sometimes people like to grab the reader's attention by getting right to the focus of the essay. I think it's a kind of abrupt sometimes. Occasionally it can work. But typically your thesis statement is going to be the last sentence of your introductory paragraph, because the beginning of the intro and the middle of the intro accomplished the other two required tasks of an intro, right? So last sentence of your intro is your thesis statement. It tells the reader in crystal clear terms the focus of your essay, just like your topic sentence told the reader exactly what the focus of your paragraph was. Your thesis statement does the same thing. It is just at the end of your introductory paragraph. If possible, your thesis statement should list your main points that you'll be discussing in the essay. So that way, your thesis statement helps preview the organization of your essay. Your reader will know what to expect. They will know what you're going to talk about first, what you're going to talk about second, what you're going to talk about after that. And if there's more than 3 main points, they'll know. They'll know how the essay is going to progress. And that is a nice thing to be aware of right at the start, right? Okay. It allows, so your thesis statement again, last sentence of your introductory paragraph, so that, it allows the intro to sort of function like a funnel, starting off very broad, drawing the reader into the body of the paper, and then ending with that focus at the end of the introductory paragraph. It also acts as an umbrella because it contains the main elements of your essay. It tells the reader what is going to be present in the body of the essay, your main points, right? A few rules, though, about thesis statements before we go any further, right? Just like we learned with topic sentences, there are some rules that you can't break, like, some certain things that you could do to make your topic sentence inappropriate. Same thing for thesis statements. First, a thesis statement must be a complete sentence. It should not sound like the title of your essay. It has to be one single grammatically correct sentence. Your thesis statement can never be a question. It cannot be a question. Just like your topic sentence or your standalone paragraphs were not allowed to be questions. It needs to be a declarative sentence. Now, don't get confused because we just went over the lesson on introductory paragraphs and how different ways you can grab your reader's attention. One of the ways you can grab your reader's attention at the beginning of your intro is to ask a question. So yes, you can use a question to begin your introductory paragraph, right? But you cannot use a question as your thesis statement, which is at the end of your introductory paragraph. So beginning of your intro, question is okay. End of your intro, question is not okay. That thesis statement can't be a question. You also do not ever want to announce your thesis statement. You do not want to use apologetic or like amateurish phrases such as, the purpose of this essay is to explain, or I intend to prove, or in this paper I will discuss. No, you want it to be a natural, organic component of the intro. You never announce anything in your essay. You just write it. You just discuss. Just like you would if you were having a conversation with someone, right? So if I were gonna, write an essay about the causes of nursing burnout, my thesis statement wouldn't say, in this paper, I intend to discuss 3 causes of nursing burnout. Just like I would never in a conversation with someone say, okay, I am about to tell you 3 reasons for 3 causes of nursing burnout. You just say, you want to know what the top 3 causes of nursing burnout are? Top 3 causes of nursing burnout are blank, blank, and blank. You don't announce that you're going to say it. You just say it, right? Same thing with your thesis statement. Don't announce it. Make it seem like a natural part of your introduction. You go from your grabber to your lead right into your thesis statement. It's not grabber, lead, announcement, grabber, lead, thesis statement, right? Your thesis statement typically should not be an already accepted fact. It typically needs to be something that is debatable or arguable in some way. Because if it's not, then why are you writing a full essay about something that everyone already knows or already agrees on? Unless that is like a really specific assignment you've been given to do, in which case you do what the assignment tells you to do. But if you're just told to write an essay on a topic, then typically you don't want the essay to be information that everybody already agrees on, or that everyone already accepts as fact. Why are we reading your essay then, if we already know all of this, or if we already agree on all of this, right? Most of the time, your thesis statement needs to be debatable in some way. Thesis statement needs to be precise, like as laser focused as possible. You do not want to use vague or general words or references. And we're going to look at that a little more, how to sort of achieve precision and focus with thesis statements. But just keep that in mind. It's okay if you start with a thesis statement that is sort of vague in general, if that's what it takes to sort of get you moving forward with the essay. But before you submit it, you need to come back to your intro, look at that thesis statement and decide, has it truly captured the exact focus of my essay? Or is it still really vague and general? You can work on the precision in revision if needed. So kind of, sometimes the precision comes in the early stages, sometimes the precision comes once you have written the draft. Either way is fine. And it might be different each time for you. It might be sometimes you have such a good grasp of what you want to write about that you have a very focused, precise thesis statement right from the get-go. And then other times, you're kind of figuring things out as you go, letting the essay take shape, letting your ideas form along the way, and then solidifying as you move further and further into the essay. And then you come back and you work on the thesis statement to revise it and make it more precise and focused. All right, so it can go either way and different each time. But it does need to be focused. Right? So we're going to look at an example of a thesis statement and kind of like a previous student's process for taking that very vague, general working thesis statement and turning it into a very specific and focused thesis statement. So I want you to notice how they begin with a very vague general idea that really doesn't clarify the true focus, and how we then start asking questions to discover the true focus, and then just how we keep doing that until we get a thesis statement that is as precise and focused as we can get it. Right? So here's our first version. Batman's personality is more complex than Superman's. All right. Okay. We know the general topic is going to be contrasting Batman's personality to Superman's personality. In particular, how Batman's personality is more complex. But that leaves us with way too many questions and way too many options. I mean, it sounds okay on the surface, right? Batman's personality is more complex than Superman's. It's not an awful thesis statement, but at the same time, what does it actually mean? I still don't really know what's going to be coming in the rest of this essay. First of all, are we talking about all versions of Batman and Superman? Right? Are we talking about a specific version of these characters? Are we looking at Batman and Superman in the movies, Batman and Superman in their TV shows, their cartoons, comic books? There's a lot of different versions of Batman and Superman. And, if we tried to discuss all of them and how their personalities are different, that would be like a book, not an essay, right? It's too much. We need to narrow this down. We have to ask ourselves, okay, I can't cover all of this. What version am I actually most interested in? Well, it turns out I'm actually not thinking about the movies or the TV shows or the cartoons at all. I didn't say it in the original version of my thesis statement here, but in my mind, I knew that I was actually just focusing on early editions of the comics. Okay, so let's revise. Second version here. In the early editions of Batman and Superman comics, Batman's personality is more complex than Superman's. Okay, all right. Yes, I realized I needed to clarify way too many options. I needed to let the reader know that I am looking only at the early editions of the comics. But we're still left with a lot of questions and a lot of options further along in the sentence. All right. Do we really mean that Batman's personality is more complex than Superman's? Are we really only looking at these two characters when they're in their superhero form? Oh, wait, actually, I wasn't even going to discuss their superhero forms. I was really only thinking about, their everyday alter egos, right? So I need to make that clear, because right now my thesis statement makes it sound like I'm going to be looking at the superheroes and how Batman is more complex than Superman. That's not actually what I mean. Okay, so in the early editions of Batman and Superman comics, Bruce Wayne's personality is more complex than Clark Kent's. Got it. I am actually only talking about their everyday alter egos. I'm not even going to talk about them when they're in their superhero form. So I need to clarify that. But that still leaves us with this very vague concept of a personality being more complex. What does that even mean? What do we mean? All right, because an individual's personality is made up of a ton of different facets. Are we going to discuss their entire personality and how Bruce Wayne's entire personality is more complex than Clark Kent's? That's way too much. We need to figure out exactly which aspects of their personality we are referring to. Where are we actually focusing? When we had this idea, what was it about Bruce Wayne that we were thinking about when we came up with this topic, when we came up with this thesis statement? Because this notion of personality being more complex is very vague. What do we actually mean? All right, here is our final version. In the early edition of Batman and Superman comics, Bruce Wayne is more pessimistic than Clark Kent. Okay. That's so much better than where we started. I personally would have liked if they had tacked on the 3 or 4 main main reasons they were going to focus on, like in what areas is Bruce Wayne more pessimistic? Maybe he's more pessimistic when it comes to trusting other people. Maybe he's more pessimistic when it comes to love and romance. And maybe he's more pessimistic when it comes to the criminal justice system, right? Okay. Like, that's what I would have liked added to this once they figured out what their actual focus was, how to word their true focus. It would have been nice if they had also tacked on the main points that were going to get discussed in the essay. Because the essay, even though pessimistic, is definitely much more focused than just complex personality, it still doesn't really tell me where they're going to go in the body of the essay. So I still want the main points previewed in the thesis statement, but at least we have precision in terms of the topic, right? We know we're only focusing on the early editions of the comics, no other forms of media. We know we're focusing on Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent, not the actual superhero forms. We know we're focusing on one aspect of their personality, pessimism, right? And how Bruce Wayne's more pessimistic than Clark Kent, and it's not just some, every aspect of their personality and this vague reference to complexity. We do at least have way more precision in this version than what we did in our first version. But we had to really focus on each element, each component of that thesis statement, and figure out how to clarify the true focus of each section, each element. Got to ask questions. You got to ask, like, is this really what I mean? Right? or is it something more specific? That helps a lot. All right, so let's take a look here. Seeing why we need to, or how we can go from a very vague general thesis statement to one that is much more precise and focused, and how much nicer the precise and focused version was, right? How much more sense it made, how much more information, specific information it provided, in just one sentence. Just changing the precision and focus in that sentence gave us so much more information and guidance than what the original version did. Let's take a look here at some other examples of thesis statements and kind of figure out which ones are not so good and which ones are pretty decent. So our first example right here, first sample thesis statement, the major problems of a teenage marriage. Well, it's not a complete sentence, right? It can't even be a thesis statement, good or bad. It's not a sentence. It sounds like the title of the essay, right? Has to be a complete sentence. How about this version? About 75% of all teenage marriages in the United States end in divorce. Okay. That's not a thesis statement. It's just a fact. One moment. Sorry about that. Go back to this here. So, 75% of all teenage marriages in the United States end in divorce is just a fact. There's nothing, it doesn't tell me anything about what this essay could possibly be about. I mean, I get maybe the topic is something to do with teenage marriages and divorce, but that's it. There's nowhere else really for that to go. It's just a fact. Okay, what about this version? When teenagers marry, they face 3 serious problems that threaten their happiness. All right. Okay. It would have been nice if they had listed those 3 serious problems. That way I would know exactly what their main points were going to be. But at least I do know that this essay is going to focus on teenage marriages and that they face 3 serious problems in those marriages. Got it. All right, at least it gives a little bit more focus and a little bit more precision. All right. Okay, how about this one? Watching television affects our lives in many ways. All right, well, it's a complete sentence. But is it really debatable, or is this really just a fact? It sounds like it's debatable. When we talk about how something can affect our lives, it seems like it would be debatable, something we could argue. But the way this is worded, it's so general. Is anyone really going to argue watching television affects our lives in many ways? Because you could have one person read that who thinks that television affects our lives in good ways, positive ways. And they read that sentence and they're like, yeah, sure does affect our lives in many ways. You can have someone else who thinks that television affects our lives in negative ways. They could read that sentence and think, yep, television sure does affect our lives in many ways. So these two people think that they're on the same, that they're on the same page as you, who has written this thesis statement, but yet they're not. But the way it's worded, it's so general. It's like nobody would actually be able to say, no, you're wrong. Television does not affect our lives. Of course, television affects our lives. Nobody's going to say that's wrong. Now, if you get more specific with that statement, then there's room to argue. So let's see where they went with it next. The average American youngster spends between 4 and 6 hours a day watching television. Now it's way too specific. It's just a fact. Again, it's not an argument, right? What about this one? Soap operas are popular because they entertain, inform, and help to fulfill the viewer's emotional needs. Yes. Focused, specific, and it lists the 3 main points. That's great. That is a perfect thesis statement, right? Okay. What about this one? New York City is a nice place to visit. Debatable, sure. I'm certain there are a lot of people who would be like, no, New York City is an awful place to visit. But what do we mean by this, though? The word nice can mean a lot of different things. It's too vague. All right, what about New York City offers visitors a wide variety of cultural attractions to keep them busy. All right, now we're getting more specific at least. You know, maybe debatable, right? Possibly. But at the very least, at least we're getting to something specific and we can tell that an opinion is coming, right? All right. New York City offers visitors a wide variety of museums, concerts, and live theater to keep them busy. So that one's even better. It's focused, it's specific, and it lists the 3 main ideas that are going to get discussed in the body of the essay. It is at least at its core debatable because other people might think, actually, you know, the museums, concerts, and live theater really aren't that great. The reason New York City is a great place to visit is because of, you know, the sports and, you know, I don't just, you know, like they could have different reasons why they think New York is a good place to visit. Or you could have someone just outright disagree. Like, no, the museums are awful. They're crowded and too expensive. The concerts are, you know, equally expensive, and the live theater really isn't as great as everyone says it is. You know, so it's debatable, it's specific, it's focused, and it lists the 3 main points that would get discussed in the rest of the essay. Perfect. Okay. What about this one? Fast food workers usually pay most of their workers the minimum wage. Is it focused? Is it specific? Yeah, but probably too much, right? It's just a fact. Not really anything we can debate here. All right, what about many Americans graduate from high school without learning how to speak a foreign language? Again, sounds like a fact. Both of those sound like there's an idea that's there that could work as the topic of an essay, but they just haven't gotten the thesis statement where it needs to be to truly convey the topic properly. Like in that first one, fast food workers usually pay most of their workers the minimum wage. Maybe what this person is actually wanting to write about is how the minimum wage should be raised. But this is as far as they've gotten in their thought process, and they need to just keep working with it to get that thesis statement where it actually reflects what the argument, the debate that they are presenting. Same thing with the second one. You know, right now it's just stated, it's just a fact. But what if what they're trying to get at is that, you know, Americans should be graduating from high school with the ability to speak a foreign language. And, you know, here's 3 reasons why we need to graduate knowing a foreign language, right? But again, they just haven't gotten there. They just haven't worked their way to that precise, focused statement that really, truly conveys their topic. What about prize fighting is a dangerous sport that should be banned in the United States? Okay, it is specific, it's focused, it's debatable. Would have been nice if they had previewed the main points in some way, but at least we have something to work with. At least we know prize fighting, dangerous, should be banned. Got it. Okay. I at least have a pretty good idea of what the rest of this essay is going to entail, right? Okay, let's practice. So I'm gonna have to take this out of the screen so you can see the whole thing. Okay. Oh, whoa, whoa. Go back up now. Okay, all right. So let's say that you were given a topic and your instructor says, okay, I want you to write an essay on this topic. And the topic is, you have won the lottery and can choose to travel anywhere in the world. Write about one place you would like to visit and explain why you'd like to travel there. All right, so you're thinking about this and you're like, you know what? I would love to travel to France because I love French food. What's another reason I would want to go to France? Oh, Paris is one of the most beautiful cities in the world and I would like to see it. You know, another reason I want to go to France is because I would like to practice my French. I'd like to become more fluent. All right, so those are my three main ideas, my three supporting reasons why I would choose France. So let's take that topic, take my supporting ideas, and create a thesis statement out of them. If I won the lottery and could travel anywhere in the world, I would travel to France because I love French food, I want to see Paris, and I would like to become more fluent in French. It's a great thesis statement. It is focused. It lists the main points. It's precise. It's exactly what you would need if this was the topic you were given for your essay, right? Your instructor says, here's your topic. Now go write, you know, a 3-page essay on it. You come up with your 3 or 4 main ideas about the topic, and then you use the prompt and your supporting ideas to create the thesis statement, right? And notice how I only took part of the topic, right? I only took part of each support, just the main ideas from each support. I did not try to take, you know, this sentence and this sentence and this sentence and this sentence and this sentence. I did not try to take 5 sentences and push them all together. Even if I did it grammatically correct with, without any comma slices or run-on sentences. Even if it was correct, I wouldn't want to take 5 sentences and try to push them together. I'm simply taking the main ideas from each one and combining them into one sentence, right? Take a look at another example. If you could recommend one restaurant you think everyone should try at least once, what restaurant would you recommend and why? I'm thinking about this and I'm like, you know what? I would recommend Jeff Ruby's Carlo and Johnny. First thing I love about that place is the ambiance. It is so elegant, so romantic, just so pretty. I love it. And then I have to also say the service is top notch. Like they really make you feel like you are a VIP when you're there. And then of course, the food at Carlo and Johnny is delicious. The steaks are so good. Oh gosh, the sides are so good. The desserts are so good. Yeah, that's definitely the place I would recommend, and the 3 reasons why. I'm going to take that topic and I'm going to take those 3 main ideas and put them together to form my thesis statement. If I had to recommend one restaurant that I think everyone should try at least once, I would recommend Jeff Ruby's Carlo and Johnny because the ambiance is romantic and elegant, the service is amazing, and the food is delicious. Good thesis statement. Precise, focused, previews the main points. I know that the first main point that will get discussed in the body of this essay is the ambiance of Carlo and Johnny. I know that after they discuss the ambiance, they're going to talk about the service. And then I know that the third main point of this essay will talk about the food. It gives me just enough so that I know what's coming, but obviously they have to fill in the blanks for me in the body of the essay. I know they're going to talk about the ambiance first, and then they share their examples and explanations with me. I know they're going to talk about the service next, and then they fill in that area. I know they're going to talk about the food last. The food is probably the best thing about Carl and Johnny. So they're going to fill that in for me. But I have a very, very good idea of what to expect as I continue reading the essay. I'm very focused and precise. All right, so let's take a look here, because we've looked at sort of, how we need to make sure that the thesis statement is precise and focused, how to look sort of, figure out if a thesis statement is weak or strong, how to create them, right? Let's look at how it actually functions in an introductory paragraph. So some of these paragraphs we're going to look at here in just a moment are the same paragraphs we looked at in the lesson on introductory paragraphs. So if you remember, I have the grabber highlighted in yellow and the lead highlighted in green. Now the thesis statement will be highlighted in blue. And there's a couple paragraphs that are new that weren't in that lesson, but they still have everything highlighted the same as well. Go ahead and take a look here. All right, so this is actually an introductory paragraph from a narrative essay, which typically does not have the same type of introductory paragraph that most academic essays have, but you can still see how we have a grabber, a lead, and a thesis statement, or at least a controlling idea, a focused, specific, precise controlling idea. It's easy to note the behavioral dark spots and moves around us. My father is a skinflint. When I need a loan or simply extra cash, he turns a deaf ear to my pleading hysterics. Mom is excessively moody. When something bothers her, she sulks for hours, never revealing what set her off, and we just have to wait until she gets over it. However, as a fairly normal teenager, I never thought of myself as having any particular character flaws. Yet, as I faced my brother Matthew at his bedroom door one spring afternoon last year, I became aware of the ugly features of anger and temper in my personality. I know exactly what to expect in this narrative. The story that they're going to tell is whatever happened while he's standing in his brother's bedroom door that spring afternoon last year, and how that event made him realize that he himself has some personality flaws, character flaws, anger and temper specifically. Now he's going to fill in the rest. He's going to share the story, what actually happens, but I know that's why. I know that's why he's sharing it, and I know what it's, what the purpose is. The focus is how this moment revealed to him these components of his own personality. Right? So this is one that we looked at in the previous lesson, right? This was sort of our general standard grabber. We looked at that and then our lead. Here we now have our thesis statement highlighted in blue. So any person who has lived in the 20th century has seen a lot of changes take place in almost all areas of human existence. Some people are excited by challenges that these changes offer. Others want to return to the simpler lifestyle of the past. The 20th century has certain advantages, such as higher standard of living for many, but it also has some disadvantages, such as a polluted environment, the depersonalization of human relationships, and the weakening of spiritual values. That is the thesis statement. Tells me exactly what the rest of the essay is going to focus on. All right, and you can see here, all of these that we went over in the intros lesson, they all had the thesis statement there when in the versions that we looked at in that lesson. We just weren't focusing on them. We were focusing on the grabber and the lead. But you can see, looking at each one of them, how the thesis statement comes at the very end of the paragraph, right? Grabber for, look, every single one. Every single one starts in yellow, green in the middle, blue at the end. Grabber, lead, thesis statement. Grabber, lead, thesis statement. Grabber, lead, thesis statement. It's just the same all the way. Every single one of them starts by grabbing the reader's attention, then leads into the topic, and ends with a focused thesis statement. Right? That is what you want to do as well. Right? You want to start off in a very general way and grab our attention to get us to want to read. Then you have your lead that leads us into your topic, keeps our interest and makes us want to keep reading. And then it leads us right into the thesis statement. So your introductory paragraph ends with your thesis statement, right? And it flows naturally. Look, I mean, none of these examples are announced, right? None of them say, in this paper, I will explain why a dog is the perfect pet due to its sense of loyalty, its ability to protect you, and its great companionship. No, it follows very naturally from the lead into the thesis statement. There's no announcement happening, right? Remember that your thesis statement typically appears at the end of your introductory paragraph. It states the main focus of your essay. It should be debatable, not an already accepted fact. It has to be a single complete sentence, grammatically correct. When you get into sort of more complex, higher level academic essays, your thesis statement might need to be more than one sentence, but typically not more than 2 or 3 sentences. But for the sake of this class, just working with a sort of standard beginning level 5-paragraph essay that we'll do in week 10, your thesis statement should be one single complete grammatically correct sentence. It should include, if possible, if it flows with the sentence, you should preview the main points of your essay, and it should stay flexible. Because again, you can always come back and work on making it more precise and focused once the rest of the essay has taken shape, right? These are thesis statements. Again, super important part of an essay, essential element of your introductory paragraph. Please, keep all of this in mind as you're working on the homework over the next couple weeks, and certainly as you begin working on preparing for the final exam essay in, the essay that you're writing for the class. Make sure that you are keeping all of that in mind. If you have questions, definitely let me know. Again, I want to make sure everybody is fully able to understand the importance and the function of a thesis statement, as well as how it works in an introductory paragraph. So definitely reach out if you want some extra help on this. Otherwise, you are free to go ahead and move on.